Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Finally Feel Free event. Today, I have such a special guest, Surya Devi, who, drawing from over 2 decades of experience, she has supported thousands in the field of holistic bodywork, intuitive coaching, and energy healing. She has trained in a variety of modalities and has had numerous initiations and activations from masters of different traditions. And everything she does stems from the desire for peace and higher consciousness on earth. She's passionate about vibration, frequency, supporting people in breaking through layers and veils that prevent them from expressing themselves in their authentic essence. And she built this work through her podcast, A Voice for Love, and has released several full-length albums, which one of the covers is her background. She collaborates with musicians across the globe through numerous singles that keep her exploring and appreciating her craft. And she says that we're at a pivotal point of evolution on the planet, and it's literally time for us all to be all hands on deck and come together and welcome the new earth that so many of us are visualizing and creating into being. Welcome, Surya.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so thrilled to be here with you.
Thank you for being here. And today we're speaking about something super important, which is actually money trauma.
Yeah, money trauma is a big one. It's huge. Yeah.
Yeah. So how can you just explain, like, how do we first of all know? Because obviously we all need, well, we think we need money to live. And of course we all would like more. But how do we know that we have money trauma?
So my life experience and my work experience of I've worked with people from such a diverse background, everywhere from, people who live on the street to like CEOs to celebrities to everything in between. And my observation is that almost all of us have some form of money trauma, but
Yeah.
it manifests differently depending on the situation. For people who are struggling to make enough money, it's going to be like these looping patterns of there's never enough money, there's not enough money is a constant source of stress. It can cause, I mean, my goodness, it can cause physical issues, it can cause sickness, like it can get to that point of stress. And the thing about money is that it's the one thing that we're going to be in a relationship with for our entire life on earth, so long as money continues to be the currency. And if it's not money, it's going to be something else. There's always going to be some form of monetary exchange, right? So it's really in everyone's best interest to look at money trauma. And then my observation of wealthy people is that they have a different kind of money trauma. And funny enough, oftentimes they worry about money even more than people without money. It's actually fascinating. So you've experienced this as well, right?
And also they are sometimes more tight with their money than the average person.
They can be. I've had the pleasure of meeting abundant, very wealthy people who are incredibly prosperous, and these people are wonderful. And then there's other people, it's like they are monetarily wealthy, but in their mind and in their heart, they're impoverished because the way that they live is like they're worrying about everything. They act almost like, some of them are penny pinching. Like, I know someone who is a millionaire who would like cancel and uncancel a $10 subscription every month so they didn't have to pay for it. And I was like, this is madness, but this is, so these are all versions of money trauma. And money trauma is also very collective, right? It's because we've been imprinted with all of these beliefs about money, and it's cultural as well. It's different. Every culture sort of has their own version of it, and then it's very collective as well, right? So most of us, from the time that we were small, we've been imprinted with the beliefs that money is hard to get, money is hard to come by, money is hard, all of these things about money. Money is stress, money is not easy to get, right? And depending on where you live in the world, this is also where it gets very interesting. These truths are very different, and we have to look at this when we're looking at even manifestation too, right? If you're already in a certain position, you have access to people in certain places of privilege and power, you're going to be able to manifest or generate for yourself more easily than somebody else, let's say, who's in a country where people are literally starving to put food on the table. These are very kinds of different levels. So it goes on all levels, but I would say in general, most humans have some form of money trauma, and it's really in our best interest as a collective. And this is why I'm so passionate about teaching this, is because what kind of a world would we live in if we all held beliefs that actually money was easy to get? We could always make more money. There was infinite ways to generate money and abundance. And not only that, and what I was shown by Spirit and why this work is so important is that when people feel relaxed and free about money. So what I would say about money trauma is you never worry about money again once you're healed. Now, that doesn't mean that you're rich necessarily. What it means is that you trust so intrinsically that you will be taken care of and that you will be provided for. So you stop the worry and you stop the fear because you connect with money as a source. The way I look at it is money, you know, the source of money, the source of abundance is actually spiritual, right? It's God, it's divine, it's source, right? That is the source. So the more we connect with this idea and we really start to live and vibrate from this place where we know we're taken care of, we know that everything's going to be taken care of. From that place, we will be more free to give. We will be more free to serve, because when you're in the fear and the contraction around money, you don't want to give it away. You don't want to help people. And you see this with wealthy people sometimes. It's like they could be sitting on millions and you ask them for a $20 donation. And it's like you just ask them to cut off their arm and give it to you. You know what I mean? Whereas somebody else could have $50 in their bank account and they're going to hand you that $20. They might even give you the 50 just because they're like, you know what, take it. So it's very interesting the way that this all manifests for us, this money trauma.
Yeah, and it's so interesting because I do want to touch on the fact that, you know, let's just take wealthy people. They have been able to generate, you know, money, like a lot of money. So what's going on there? If they've got all of this and they're able to tap into this kind of abundance, why don't they want to part with it so quickly?
Well, this is interesting. And then, again, there's so many reasons for it. So just because that person has somehow found a way to generate the wealth, and this could be their karma too, right? Like sometimes people are born into money, or they're just have that sort of karma or that luck to attract certain circumstances, but their mentality or their consciousness around it is still one of fear. So they're sitting still in that collective belief that money is hard to come by. And sometimes people, their motivation for making money could be, for example, somebody grew up in a really poor family and they promise themselves, I'm never going to be like this. I'm never going to be like this. So then they go through life, they make their money, they have their family, and they are able to generate the wealth, but they don't generate the mindset that goes along with it. They don't generate that sense of, wow, like I did this and I can relax now. No, they're still holding on to that old belief. It's like those people who, you know, the stories about people who win like $60 million in the lottery and it's blown like the next year or 2 years after. And you think, how is that possible? Well, it's because that person did not have the right consciousness or vibration to be able to hang on to that wealth, you know, and so they couldn't sustain it. And so then it just like literally flew out of their hands. So it can be very interesting. So I've had a lot of very wealthy clients, and honestly, sometimes I'm just like literally rolling my eyes, like, you know, silently to myself, because I'm listening to them and I'm like, wow, you know, and again, more money, more problems. There is something to that statement, because, you know, if you get money and you buy a multi-million-dollar house and a fancy car and all of these things, those things need upkeep. They need, you know, they need taking care of. So those all become extra expenses. So in one sense, you know, and the bigger playing field that you're playing on as far as money goes, obviously there's more stress about that, right? Like there's going to be more stress around making a decision that has a, you know, $1 million price tag on it versus a $20 one, right? It's not, you know, so there is more stress when you're moving into these higher realms. But yet, you know, as we've both seen, it's like some of these wealthy people, like I've heard all kinds of stories over the years. Like I had a client and she said, you know, I would love to send you to see my sister and her husband, but she's like, I just can't. And I'm like, what do you mean? So her sister is married to one of the most, if you were from here, I'm not going to say the name, but one of the most wealthy restaurateurs in all of the city. You know, this person owns 5, 6, 7 high-end 5-star restaurants. These people are very wealthy. Now, what my client told me, she said every time she gets people, whether it's, you know, gardeners, cleaners, massage therapists, whatever, her sister and the husband always want those people as well, but they don't pay them. My client was like, I cannot send anyone to see my sister and her husband anymore because they won't pay them. She's like, it's happened so many times now and I feel terrible because these are my people that I'm sending to my own family, you know, in hopes of trying to support my people with giving them more business, but then they won't pay them. And these people are like multi-millionaires. And I was just like, wow, this is mind-boggling. And I know I have similar stories. Again, wealthiest businesswoman in Vancouver screwed over one of my friends for thousands and thousands of dollars of services. And instead of paying her, she gave her a few gift certificates for the store that she owned. And my friend was like, no, like you owe me $4,000. And the lady was like, oh, here's $900 in gift certificates for my store that I own. And it's like these types of things, right? So it's very interesting. And I think that comes with privilege sometimes too, is, you know, unfortunately, sometimes when people have a lot of money, maybe there's a privilege piece there, you know? So anyway, lots of stories, but it's very interesting.
Yeah, and the reason I bring this up is that because people might, is because I'm trying to see, because obviously I know wealth, there's different types of wealth, even in like Hinduism and stuff, which is my background, there's like 16 forms of wealth. But in this current age, people, and I've definitely had clients as well, I've had business partners, I've had partners who, I've kind of been around a lot of wealthy people, but I've seen all different sides of them. And some give a lot away to charity, but don't spend anything on themselves. Some are like multimillionaires, but watch every single penny, like how you say. And it really got me thinking. And another person who I was in business with, she hit her goal, and she said like she got really wild success, but said that she felt the unhappiest, and then within the next year she just let go of it all. So it's really interesting because there's stuff out there that say if we heal our money trauma, then we're able to manifest more tangible money. But obviously this is showing that this is not the case. So is it that, what do you think is real wealth, like inner wealth, outer wealth? Like what are we all striving for in the new earth?
That's a wonderful question. And I love that you brought that up. And I love that you have a Hindu background as well, because I always think of like what I've been taught about Lakshmi, right? Who's the goddess of wealth. And that, wealth is not just money. Wealth is about health. It's about happiness. It's about having good relationships with the people that you love. It's about feeling a sense of peace in your everyday being, right? So this is the thing. You can be wealthy as far as having money, but you can be very poor or very impoverished in your heart or in your thinking. So you're not really truly wealthy unless you sort of have everything. And so that's why with the money trauma work that I do, it's not so much about, my focus is not so much on the manifestation piece. Now that can be a byproduct, absolutely, because once you get into a space where money is truly your friend and money is really something that you're in this really great flow with, well, it's like any friend or any relationship, it's probably going to come to you more. It's probably going to flow more easily to you. And whether that's in the form of money or gifts, I get given things all the time, and this is a form of abundance. And it's funny, I was having a chat with a friend of mine, and her mother was sort of worried about some financial things, and she was telling me she's on fixed income now because she's retired and this and that. And I said to her, be open to what you need coming to you without needing it. And something that she was about to go to the store and buy $100, like it would have been like $100 or $150 that she was going to spend on, somebody that she met in town a few weeks ago knocked on her door and was like, here, and gave her that very thing. And it was right after our conversation. And I said, you see how it works? I said, there's so many ways that things can come to us. Like, it's not just about money. So again, going back to wealth, and I've been in situations in my life where I'm like, my gosh, like, the most valuable thing in that moment was I needed somebody to be there. I needed something that had nothing to do with money. And like, there are so many situations in life when you're in a life or death situation, there are some moments in time that having all the money in the world is not going to do anything for you. You might need somebody with a skill set. You might need somebody who's going to be able to say the right thing or do the right thing, or, all these types of things. So money is important, but it's not everything. So I think I might have veered off of your question a little bit there, but it's there's so many levels to this. And it was really surprising when it was a healer that I work with who told me, well, you're going to start working with people on money trauma. I'm like, what the heck? What is she talking about? But then I started thinking about it, and I started going into it, and I got so inspired by it because I got this vision that the more of us who heal money trauma, like, this is actually a service to the world. It's a service to humanity. It's a service to the collective, because the collective mentality around money is a very low level, fear-based mentality. And it's nobody's fault because we've been programmed with this. Our parents were programmed with this. Our grandparents were programmed with this. Most of the world, if you look at the way the world is set up, we talk about like the 99% and the 1%. The 1% are these uber wealthy people. Even some of the wealthy people that you and I are talking about are not even wealthy by contrast to some of these other people that I'm talking about that have like big money. Okay. We're talking about the people in the 5% between the, but most of us come from some form of poverty. Our ancestors were lived in poverty. Our ancestors probably came to another country seeking a better life for themselves because they couldn't make a life where they were, and they were looking for new opportunities. So this is in our DNA. It's in our blood. They have used money to control people for thousands and thousands of years, and by creating these like royal families and these, groups of people. So it's like, there's this, it's like this idol worship thing where these people are rich and famous and everybody else is struggling. And the reality of people, and it's in the DNA, that what the people understand as reality is struggle, that money is struggle, that there is not enough, that we have to struggle to make money, that we have to work so hard just to make ends meet. And unfortunately, for many people, this is a reality. I'm not trying to negate that or gaslight that in any way. This is an absolute reality. And those of us who have the privilege to be able to work on ourselves, because I talk about this all the time too, being able to work on yourself is a privilege, because there's people all over this planet who can't even think about that because they are living in complete survival mode. Right? So, but those of us who can work on that, I truly believe that when we heal our own money trauma, it has a ripple effect for the collective. Not to mention, again, this byproduct of having more money come to us and being in a more graceful and feeling confident and secure with the money that we have, guess what? We're probably going to be more likely to donate, to give, to support, to help. And this also is what's going to bring a lot of healing to the world. It's not expecting the system to get us out of all of our messes. It's about us learning how to generate massive amounts of wealth for ourselves so that we can fund projects and all of these things for ourselves. We can support causes for ourselves. If governments aren't going to do these things to help people, we can do it ourselves. It's incredible, and I love seeing women. This is what I got to say. It was, and this is really something interesting to think about. It was unfathomable just a few years ago to think that healers could be on the internet making millions of dollars. Like, this was not even in reality. And this goes to show how powerful women and how powerful healers are, right? Because really think about this. There are healers, like, not all, I don't agree with all of them, but I just think the fact, and I don't necessarily agree with the practices and the way that everybody is doing it, but in itself, just the fact that there's women who are running spiritually based businesses that are making millions of dollars, this is so inspiring to me, don't you think?
Yeah. And you're so right. Like, we would have never expected this before. Even like, we don't even know what's going to happen next year. The level of how we're, everything, the speed of how everything is transforming and the possibilities, for sure. Now, I just want to touch upon.
Oh, sorry. Go on. I'm sorry. I just want to say this because this is like, not only that, what is the stereotype about the healer? The stereotype about the healer is that they're broke and they have no money and that they struggle and that they probably trade their services just to get, the healer would live in the little cabin in the woods and everybody would just go, and give, support them like the shaman kind of thing. So the fact that even, healers and people like this are transcending into this realm where they can actually make lots of money, hopefully in more integrity ways, but I just think it's amazing. Yeah. Anyway.
And also musicians as well. You're a musician, I'm a musician. Like, it used to be like, unless you're the number one artist, you don't make anything. But it's look at like streaming, so many other ways as well, which has been incredible.
Oh, exactly. And that's the thing. It's wide open right now. Technology and all of the internet. I mean, it's all a double-edged sword, but the positive piece of it is exactly what you just said, that we now have the opportunity to make these opportunities for ourselves that before it was in that system of, we would have to go to somebody else to record our own stuff, to all of, all of these different things. Right now, it's like, oh, you can just do it. You can buy some equipment and set up a little room in your home and teach yourself how to record it yourself if you want to, it's incredible.
Yeah, amazing. So how can someone start tapping, if they have a lot of fear about money or feeling like they're not getting enough, or maybe they have all the money in the world and they feel like, oh, I can't spend it. Like, what's a way to start getting in touch with abundance, with wealth, like just like an everyday thing that someone can start off doing?
Well, first of all, I have a free course on my website on money trauma, so please feel free to go there.
We'll put the links below for sure. Yeah.
Okay, great. So that's a great start, and I made that it's free because I feel like this work is so important. But it's funny hearing you say that. It's the basis of all self-work, and it begins with consciousness, and that means generating awareness and observing yourself and your patterns and trying your best to do that without judgment. So just watch yourself every day and how you relate to money. When you spend money, How do you feel about that? Do you, every time you spend, are you like, oh gosh, like I just, you know what I mean? Like, oh my gosh, you know, or do you, like, every time you buy something, are you just filled with gratitude that you had the money to buy it and trust that you're always going to have the money to get what you need? And that's a really great place to start, is whenever you buy something, say a little prayer of gratitude and say, there's always more where this came from. I'm so grateful I can buy this for myself, because what a lot of us do, and I go in and out of it too sometimes, I watch myself, you know, sometimes you have those days where you end up spending so much money, it's like you're just out everywhere, and by the end of the day you're like, oh my God, you add up the amount of money, like how, you know, like how could it be this much, right? But instead of looking at that as a deficit and going into the fear around that, you can again practice gratitude, right? So there's one way. Journaling is really helpful, and just start to look at, you know, if money was your friend, if money was your partner, how do you treat money? Do you think money is going to be there for you? This is a really interesting analogy that you can do, right? Like, because most of us don't believe that money is going to be there for us. So it's the same like if you had a partner or a friend, if you don't believe they're going to show up for you, there's a good chance they're probably not, right? Or it's going to create a lot of friction within the relationship of like, oh, like this is not going to, you know, this person's not going to show up for me. And that's how a lot of us feel about money. A lot of us have given a lot of power away to money. And it's funny because money is actually neutral, right? Like money is actually neutral. It's just a form of exchange, but we've projected so much onto money. And I think there's actually there's a module about this in the free course about our projections onto money, because it's a big one. Look at all these things we've said about money. Money is hard to get. Money is hard to come by. Money is this, money is that. Like we have all of these belief systems. So it starts with observation, and observe yourself every day in your life, observe your spending habits, and observe the energy that you have around it, and make time with your money. Sit down and have a date with your bank account, because a lot of people avoid this, right? They're like, oh, I do it sometimes too. When I've like overspent, I'm like, oh gosh, like I don't want to look at my bank account now. But you know, then I make myself, and then you go over it, because the more conscious decisions we can make about these things, the better, right? And sometimes we might be guided to buy something that seems frivolous or seems, you know, oh shoot, like I really shouldn't buy this. But maybe being in the energy of buying that, like this happens to me all the time. I'm like, oh gosh, I really shouldn't buy this. But then I end up finding something. Maybe I wear it in a photo shoot or performing. And when I wear it, or maybe that very thing that I'm wearing, I put it on and I feel so abundant. And then I end up manifesting a whole, or, you know, bringing in, generating a whole bunch of money. And was it because of that thing, like the bracelet I was wearing? I don't know. But something, again, it's all energy, right? So everything that contributes to the energy of us feeling wealthy is a part of healing money trauma. And then also we have to look at our backgrounds. Like it goes so deep. And then what I discovered after really going into this is actually our money trauma is interconnected to our deepest issues about how we belong, how we don't belong. Like it's so deep. And that's why I was like, oh, this is why I've been guided to work on this, because it goes super deep. Our relationship with money is a reflection of a lot of other things that are going on in our life. And yet so many of us feel bad again, and this is all part of the guilt and shame. And oh gosh, there can be religious implications with money too, right? Because a lot of us have been, you know, given these wrong messages about like, you know, Christianity, they say it's easier for a rich man to go through the eye of a needle than to get into heaven or whatever. I'm totally misquoting it, but you know what I mean? Like a lot of religion have given us ideas, or about like, you know, in Hinduism and stuff as well, and the yogic path, it's like more noble. If you're spiritual, you shouldn't generate wealth, right? You take these brahmacharya vows and you just like, you know, you say like no more to the world and you go internal. But I think what's happening in this day and age is that we're realizing we can be spiritual and materially wealthy at the same time. Like there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, being materially wealthy is going to lower our stress levels. Probably it's going to create less stress in our life, because when you're constantly, and I know because I lived in that state for years, you know, of not always having and not knowing where because I've always been self-employed, right? So now that I look back on it, it was actually the perfect learning grounds to teach this work, because I have such a deep faith now in being provided for. I have such a deep faith in knowing that something's always going to show up, even if I have no idea where it's coming from. So this is where entrepreneurship and being self-employed can be really, really amazing on money trauma. But at the same time, I was thinking about this morning, because I was thinking about what we're going to talk about. I was thinking about like, I work with so many clients who their whole life, they've had amazing jobs. They've probably put away enough money that they could live off of it for 10 years, and they want to leave their job and they're in a complete state of fear and frozen and they can't do anything. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I'm like, you have no idea. Like, I'm like, I remember this one client, I was like, this is what you've worked for your whole life. Like, do you understand? This is why you saved this money. This is why you were responsible. So now at this point in your life, when you're like, I can't be in this situation anymore. You have a cushion to figure it out, and you're going to figure it out. Even if it takes you a year and you don't work and you live off your savings, you're going to be okay. You're going to be more than okay. Like I know artists and healers and, creative people who have nothing. They live off of nothing, but they have the most rich lives. Their lives are continuously rich with people and situations and experiences because they live without fear. So there's this, and a lot of artists can be starving artists and stuff. So there's this gap there. You know what I mean? It's like both sides have something to learn from one another. The practical people can teach the creative people maybe how to be a little more grounded. And, this is in the more practical realm of money stuff. Yeah. But it's fascinating. It's an absolutely fascinating topic, but there's so much there. So anyone who wants to do this money trauma healing work, I really feel not only is it a gift for yourself, but it's a gift for the collective. It's a gift for humanity, because the more of us who get out of this toxic money mindset, we can help everybody, both in the realm of consciousness and in the realm of actually being able to give money to people. Because when you all of a sudden feel confident and you're like, hey, I have an extra few $100s in my bank account. Like, I don't need it. I know there's something else coming. Like, I'm going to feed this person here, or I'm going to support this person who needs help with their project, right? Like all these kinds of things right now, because when people are hanging on to their money, which is what a lot of people do. And it's ironic because from the, financial perspective, that's what we should do, right? We should like hang on. Of course, like it's good to have savings, but at the same time, some of the greatest wealth comes from this freedom just to know that it's always there, right? And there's always more to be created. There's always more money. But we don't think this way, right? Like most people don't have this mentality. We don't believe that there's money everywhere. And I think that more and more people are developing this, which is why we are seeing healers making millions of dollars on the internet, because they were able to cultivate the belief that I can do this. And it's interesting, like one of my coaches she always shows this video of like the first time that a runner broke the 100-meter dash or whatever, I guess like let's say it was 10 seconds or whatever, however it was 20 seconds. Okay. I guess for decades before that, somebody was trying to beat that record. Nobody could beat it. The first time that somebody beat it, do you know that like a dozen other people hit that same record within a year? And what that shows, that's like the butterfly effect. It's like the 100 monkey syndrome. What that means is once one person or a group of people push through that threshold, it makes it possible for everybody. So this is why I'm passionate about healing.
So exciting. Yeah.
Right? This is why I'm passionate about healing in general, because our healing is not just for us. It's for everybody. It's for our ancestors, right? Forwards and backwards in time. And it's for the collective. So I think money trauma healing it's fascinating for me.
Yeah. And Surya, thank you so much for sharing this. It's such an important thing. And the fact that you've got a free course that we'll put below and people can go get that course and be part of your community and all the wonderful work that you're doing. And I'm so excited to also be on your podcast that we will also share on this whenever this interview is out. But I just want to say, thank you for the work that you're doing and this very important message for the Finally Feel Free event.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. And thanks for being open to, I know right away you were like money trauma. And it's something that it really catches people's attention, and most people don't really understand what it is. To be honest, I didn't completely understand the first time I heard it, but something in me was like, oh yeah, like I know that, and I've had my own money trauma my whole life. So that's why, and I feel like doing this work got me to this place again, where it's just like, there's such a freedom. There's so much less fear than there was before, so much trust and so much knowing. And that's really what it's about. It's not, again, the generating of the extra money is like the byproduct of, it usually comes along with it. But oftentimes it just means you can live in peace, you can live in trust, you can live in faith. You're not worried anymore because you know that there's always, you're always provided for. It's beautiful.
Yeah. Such a beautiful message. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much for inviting me. It's like you're such a light, and I'm just so thrilled to be here and excited for our next chat on the podcast.
Yeah, and we'll put all of that down below for all of you guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Soul Family. I really hope this interview helped you to finally feel free. Remember, it's not too late to be part of the VIP Sacred Circle, and at 99% off, I'm super excited to invite you to lifetime access to all the interviews and the complete event schedule so you can customize your viewing experience. You get an exclusive all-access gift pass, which means you can dive straight into the virtual goodie bag of gifts right now. You get a private one-to-one future projection session with me, where together we will craft and connect with your highest timeline 5D quantum future self. You also get a transformative month in the Sacred Soul Experience Mastermind, where we break through constraints of time and take leaps in health, love, wealth, and spiritual alignment. You receive laser coaching for your questions and create breakthroughs in your personal journey. This offering is here for you for just $99, and my intention is to support you wholeheartedly on your journey towards inner freedom, conscious love, and celestial connection. Act quick. This is a time-sensitive offer and will be updated after a certain date. So much love.